Welcome back. You're tuned into Bazaar Morning Call. As promised, Prakash Diwan joins us to help us out with some fundamental analysis. Hi, Prakash. Morning and good to see you, Ben. We'll get to Reliance Industries in just a bit, but I wanted to understand, what do you make of the banking numbers? HDFC Bank as well as Kotak Mahindra Bank. For Kotak, we have a couple of downgrades as well. Your take on both those names?
Good morning, Nigel. So, absolutely. I think Kotak numbers which clearly tell you there is bottoming out of on most parameters. None of the things that you would want a bank to kind of start showing improvement on have seen that, which means that there's and I mentioned this on the call with Abhishek on Saturday, that this is a bank that has consciously got out of lending growth, has been struggling with some sort of deposit growth, and the metrics now tell you that this consolidation that they've had internally with the new management coming in, all the processes being reinvented, revisited, this probably seems like a consolidation and a bottoming out phase. Hopefully, they'll get some new energy to build into this thing. And they've spoken about branch expansion, the need to kind of raise deposits much faster. So I think the bank will have to do much more, because in the absence of some of the key portfolio growth areas like personal loans and all, and of course, the RBI wrap on the knuckles on some of the areas, there will be some time before this takes off. So it's going to be sideways. I don't think the market is going to like these numbers or the commentary, with any immediate effect. HDFC Bank, on the other hand, does show some sign of getting its act together on some of the parameters, the CD ratios that everybody's got worried. So I think that's where the growth will happen. In spite of all of the constraints, they've done some sort of credit growth, which is nice. But going forward, and remember, this is a quarter which usually is quite challenging for HDFC Bank and most banks. So I think going forward, post-monsoon, the season could, the cyclical nature of the business could probably help them. But I'm not very worried about the HDFC Bank numbers, though people have been talking about flat growth and all of that. But Nigel, I think it's a Kotak Bank numbers which will probably take center stage with the disappointing set coming through. But then, of course, the market's not in the mood to reward anything which is less than expected. So you'll see negativity on both. Less on issue.
Okay. I want to ask you about Reliance as well, but we do have a couple of more guests joining us, so we'll do all of that together. In the meantime, Prakash, your thoughts on Indian hotels, because it was seasonally a weak quarter, right? Where there was this heat wave, the wedding dates were on the lower side, etc. So that hit the numbers. But largely, Indian hotels has been a big wealth creator. Do you think that the prudent thing to do would be to buy the dip, or are you cautious here?
Good morning, Sonia. No, absolutely. I think hotels is an area which most investors I see the portfolios are underinvested. And if you had to kind of start looking at getting some exposure, there's no better name than this. And as a matter of disclosure, I do have this in my long-term portfolio. Indian hotels will, actually lead the performance, and it will outperform the market growth go along, given the kind of properties that they sit on, the kind of growth plans that they have. And, so while we speak about trying to kind of do its bit and all of that, Indian Hotels already has a right to win in most locations. And once the traffic comes back, once, the seasonality is out, you'll probably see the numbers catch up. And what's improved in this quarter as well, like certain other quarters, is the efficiency ratio. So I think the utilization levels, the kind of cost management that they've been trying to bring in, all of that does reflect in these numbers on there. So yes, you're right. If the market gives you that opportunity, please check into Indian hotels for the long term.
Prakash, hi, morning. Broader markets really hammered, right, on Friday. This morning as well, GIFT Nifty is indicating a lower start, at least on the Nifty. Just a quick word on, the big driver. There was also those comments from SEBI chief. So it's a mix of things. It's always a mix of things coming together. I think it's very clear now, some regulations in F&O are coming. It could come, I think, right after the budget, perhaps something as early as this week. But what's your sense on, just a quick word on the market, but also on these market intermediary stocks? You've got exchange listed and you've got a bunch of brokers, etc.
No, absolutely, Prashant. There's lots that's happened over the weekend. But, the market today might give you a little bit of a weak start thanks to some of the heavyweights, the Nifty constituents, not in great shape in terms of the results and all. So, for example, out of your top 10 stocks, 5 are in the red, and most of them happen to be the large ones. So that's one thing. But what happened on Friday, if you ask me, was actually a very clear lightening of positions before you go into budget. And secondly, there's a lot of profit booking in sectors which seem to be a bit overheated, and there's rotation in other sectors. So while all this happened, the advanced decline ratio was fairly decent. It wasn't really out of whack, where it was only declines and no advances. So it was almost equal, which tells you that there are certain stocks where the buildup is still happening, but the sectors could probably be still not being discussed as much. On all these regulatory things, I think it's very valid. It's required. There's a lot of speculative element that's come into the market rather than focus on core investing ideology. But remember, F&O and small cap really don't have much of a correlation. I mean, you could see volumes go down in F&O, but that's got nothing to do with this thing. So I think it's more of profit booking, sector rotation at work. And we'll probably see continuation of that today as well. So till the budget throws up new opportunities, probably people are wanting to sit on cash and be ready.
As Prakash, of course, we discussed Reliance at length on Friday when the numbers came. But very quickly, on the stock itself, do you expect weakness? And if yes, would you use that as an opportunity to buy?
So, Sonia, as I mentioned, most of these numbers might seem disappointing, but then there was a lot of expectation that there would be softness, and they're exactly in line with that. In fact, the Jio numbers will probably start improving very dramatically, as Balaji was sharing. My sense is, if there's a dip, and there could be, most likely, you buy into Reliance with a view on the other optionality, which is Jio, retail growing, demerging, and of course the new energy business, hydrogen business. So the green hydrogen business we've not spoken about, but that's building up very rapidly, and at some point you'll have to factor that in. So I would definitely recommend this from a long-term perspective.